My name is Avery Crane, and I was 34 the week my whole family decided I had stolen from them. My grandparents died on a Tuesday in a small plane that never reached the wedding they were flying to. I found out from my brother Trevor, who asked about the will before he asked if I was okay. 6 days later, a lawyer read it aloud, and every head in that room turned and looked at me, like I was a thief. I thought the funeral was the hardest part. Then they came to the house with a moving truck and a man I had never seen, and I understood the funeral had only been the beginning. What I had quietly done, 2 days before that truck arrived, is the only reason I can tell you this calmly now. Trevor never called me. We texted twice a year on birthdays, the way you wave at a neighbor you do not like. So when his voice came out flat and quick that night, I already knew something had broken. He told me about the plane, about Asheville. I sat down on the floor and felt the cold of the boards through my jeans and listened to the clock in my hallway count off seconds I could not feel. Then, before either of us had said a single soft word about the two people who raised half of my childhood, he asked the question that told me everything. Do you know if they left a will? I hung up and sat on that floor a long time. The only sound in my house was the wind-up clock, the one my grandfather had taught me to wind when I was 9. I did not cry yet. I was already wondering what my family had been planning while my grandparents were still alive. The will was read 6 days later in the office of Walter Howren, 71 years old, slow-moving, with a handshake like a vice and eyes that did not miss much. He had served with my grandfather a lifetime ago in a war neither of them talked about. The whole family came in black. My father Gerald sat in front with his arms crossed. My mother Brenda dabbed at eyes that stayed dry. Aunt Carol had a legal pad already open, like she had come to take inventory rather than mourn. Walter put on his glasses and started reading. I expected the house to go to my father. I expected the savings to be split. I expected to be mentioned near the bottom. A keepsake. The clock, if I was lucky. Instead, Walter read my name. He kept reading it. I felt the air change before I understood the words. My mother's pen stopped. My father uncrossed his arms. Trevor's leg went still. My mother laughed. Short, sharp note with no humor in it. There must be a mistake, she said. Walter did not look up. There is no mistake, he said. He set the page down and folded his hands. Avery is the sole heir. The estate passes entirely to her. $40 million. The house on the lake, the land, the accounts I had never known existed. The room came apart in slow motion around me. I should tell you who I am because it matters for what comes next. 12 years in the army, most of it in logistics. People hear that and picture clipboards, and they are not wrong. But a clipboard in the wrong desert is the difference between men eating and men not eating. My job was to make sure the right things reached the right people at the right time, and to write everything down, because memory is the first thing that betrays you. You document, you date it, you keep the file. I had grown up the spare child, the one whose graduation no one drove to see, the one my father introduced to a neighbor as our house guest and laughed like it was a joke. You learn after enough of that to stop reaching for people who keep their hands behind their backs. The only place I had ever felt fully seen was the lake house with two old people who asked about my day and actually waited for the answer. The will had just proved I never really had left them behind. They were waiting for me in the parking lot after the reading. My father stepped in front of me before I reached my car. It should have gone to family, he said. I am family, I said. His face did something complicated and then closed like a door. That was always his answer to anything true. My mother appeared last and did the most frightening thing of all. She softened. She put her hand on my arm with wet, careful eyes. We're all grieving, sweetheart. We'll talk soon when everyone's calmer. Her voice was gentle. Her grip was not. I had spent years learning to read what people meant under what they said. What my mother meant was simple. She had not given up. She had only changed weapons. The campaign started Monday. Relatives I had not heard from in years sent messages about family and what Grandma would have wanted. A cousin sent childhood photos with crying face captions like nostalgia was a lever. Trevor sent a sonogram. My mother sent a Bible verse about generosity. None of them asked how I was. All of them assumed I was the problem to be solved. I did what I always did when something felt off. I made a file. I screenshotted every message, dated it, and did not respond to any of them. I was not building a case yet. I was a grieving woman who had learned the hard way that you do not win by reacting to people who want you reacting. You win by keeping your hands still and your records clean. Carol called Thursday. She did not bother with warmth. The family is prepared to challenge the will, she said. Undue influence. Two vulnerable elderly people. One estranged granddaughter who swooped in at the end and walked away with everything. I almost laughed. I had not swooped in. I had been kept out. But I knew a contest could drag on for a year and bleed the estate dry. Carol was counting on me being scared of the process. What she did not count on was that processes did not frighten me the way they frightened other people. Then she got impatient. "Your mother needs this settled before the bank moves on her," she said, and caught herself half a second too late. I wrote it down. I thanked Carol for the courtesy heads up in a voice as flat as hers and hung up. My mother was not just greedy. My mother was drowning. And drowning people do not let go. They pull you under with them. I called Walter the next morning with a list. He listened without interrupting. Then he walked me through it. The will was as solid as a will gets. Drafted himself, 2 witnesses, a video of the signing, a physician's letter confirming both of them were of sound mind that day. An undue influence claim has to be proven, he said. The burden falls on them, not you. They have nothing but their feelings. Then he told me something else. Your grandfather added a no contest provision. Anyone who challenges this will and loses forfeits whatever your grandparents did leave them. I sat up. A token, Walter said. 20,000 each to your father, your mother, and your brother. Raymond insisted on it. He called it a test. My grandfather, dead in a field outside Asheville, had reached forward in time and laid a quiet trap baited with exactly the kind of money my family could not leave. Alone. I did not feel triumphant. I felt something stranger. I felt understood. Before we hung up, Walter reminded me about the letter. Joan's handwritten letter left for me alone. I admitted I had not read it yet, that I was afraid of it. Some part of me was not ready to be loved on paper by 2 people who could no longer be hugged. Walter, let that sit. Read it when you can, he said. She wrote it for the woman you are, not the girl they tried to make you. They filed 11 days later. Carol drew it up. My mother pushed it forward. And my father signed his name to a petition, claiming his own parents had been manipulated by their granddaughter into betraying their only son. I got the notice standing at the kitchen counter and felt a strange, sad calm. They had walked straight into the wall, certain it was a door. That afternoon, my mother sent the softest message yet, which told me exactly how much leverage they thought that they now had. We don't want this to get ugly. Sign it over and we'll drop everything. We can all move on. The same sentence dressed for a different season. I forwarded it to Walter, dated it, and added it to the file. That night I finally read the letter. It had been waiting in my grandmother's old Bible, folded once between the thin pages of the Psalms, exactly where Walter said she had tucked it. Her handwriting had gone shaky in her last years, but it was unmistakably hers, the same loops that had signed my birthday cards for 34 years. She did not waste words. She told me she loved me. Then she told me why she trusted me. And the why was a list of small things I had forgotten I had done. You fixed the dock the summer you were 14, she wrote. By yourself, in 2 days. And you never once told anyone or asked for thanks. She wrote about the Christmas card sent from wherever the army had me. She wrote, you are the only one who never asked us for a thing. That is how we knew. And near the bottom, the line that reached into my chest and stayed there. Use it the way we'd be proud of. You'll know what that means. Don't let anyone tell you that family is the people who share your name. Family is the people who would never make you prove you belong. I read it 3 times. The first time I cried. The second time I understood it. The third time I felt something settle in me, hard and clear, like a load finding its center. They had not left me a fortune. They had left me a charge. I spent the next week doing the unglamorous work that wins things. Walter filed the will for probate. The court admitted it. We recorded the transfer of the lake house into my name with the county. So the question of who owned it stopped being a feeling anyone could argue and became a fact stamped by a clerk. I assembled the defense file against their petition. The signing video, the witness statements, the physician's letter, my grandmother's journal, my grandfather's notes, copies, then copies of the copies, a clean set I could carry in one hand. Then my father delivered a letter in his blocky engineer's print. Short and certain. I was to vacate the lake house by Sunday. If I did not, he would, in his words, remove you ourselves and let the court sort it out afterward. He ended it the way he ended everything. It should have gone to family. 3rd time, and it had stopped sting somewhere around the 2nd. Every time he said it, he told me exactly how small his idea of family was. Sunday they had named the day themselves, handed me the one thing a logistics officer values above all others, advance notice. I did not plan a confrontation. I planned a Sunday. First the documents, the recorded deed, the will, the signing video, the physician's letter, and Walter's cease and desist with my father's name already on it. Second, Walter himself, present as executor of the estate. Third, a deputy from the county sheriff's office, because I had a written threat of forced removal, and a recorded deed and a moving truck on the way, and that combination needed a witness with a badge. No trap, no speech rehearsed in the mirror, just the law, quietly arranged to already be standing in my driveway when my family arrived to break it. They came at 9 in a small convoy. My father's truck first, then the rented moving truck rattling the morning quiet, then my mother's car, then Carol's, then a cousin or two brought along as witnesses. My father got out and surveyed the property like a man arriving at a job site. My mother came up the lawn with her chin set. Carol had her legal pad. I was standing on my grandfather's porch with my coffee. My mother reached the bottom step. "Sign it over, Avery," she said. "Do the decent thing." My father walked straight up onto the porch, stepping through the last living stretch of my grandmother's lavender, without a flicker of awareness, and stopped a foot from me. "We're done waiting," he said. "Get your things." Then his eyes moved past me toward the side of the house, and he stopped talking. Walter came around the corner first in his gray Sunday suit, the estate file under his arm. Behind him, Deputy Reyes, thumbs in his belt, in no hurry at all. The whole front yard went still. Even the moving truck seemed to hold its breath. I set down my coffee, picked up the folder, and walked down the steps to meet them on the grass where everyone could see. I did not raise my voice. You almost never need to. "This is Walter, the executor of the estate," I said. "And this is Deputy Reyes from the county. That is the deed to this house, recorded in my name. That is the will. That is the physician's letter. That is a video of your parents signing it." The deputy spoke flat and easy, the voice of a man who had broken up 100 of these. "This property is legally hers. Any attempt to remove her or her belongings is trespass. The truck needs to leave." Then Walter opened the file and held up the petition with my father's signature on it. "When you filed your challenge," he said almost gently, "you walked straight into the no contest clause Raymond built into this will. If you press it and lose, and you will lose, you forfeit every cent he set aside for you. A judge will speak the last word. But you didn't put this estate in play at a hearing. You put it in play the day you signed this. My family came apart all at once. My mother started screaming about lawyers and lies, all the careful warmth gone for good. My father went a deep, dangerous red, jabbing his finger at Walter, at me, at the deed. Trevor sat down on the porch steps and put his head in his hands. The cousins edged back toward their cars, having signed up to witness a victory. Not this. My father turned on me last, his voice ragged, reaching for the only weapon he had ever needed. "It should have gone to family," he said. "The fourth time, and the last time." In the quiet right after it, with the deputy beside me in the lavender crushed under his shoes and my grandfather's clock ticking faintly through the open window, I gave him the only answer I had been saving. "It did go to family," I said. "You just could never see who that was." He had no reply. There was none to have. I told them then the thing that I think hurt worst of all, because it was true, and because it was kind, and because kindness was the one thing they had never expected from the house guest. I told them I had been ready to bring them in, that I had a plan that would have helped my mother with real guidance and helped Trevor stand on his own feet and honored the family in a way that would have lasted. "You could have had a sister," I told Trevor. "Instead, you brought a truck." My mother heard the word foreclosure inside Walter's accounting of what the no contest clause would cost them, and the fight went out of her between one breath and the next. She sat down on the bottom step beside her son. "I'm going to lose the house," she said, to no one. I crouched down near her and said quietly, so the cousins could not hear, that I would not save the loan. But I gave her a name, a financial counselor, and the number for a county program that helped people restructure before the bank moved. "Mercy isn't money," I told her. "But it isn't nothing either." She did not thank me. I did not expect her to. The deputy nodded at the truck driver, and the big diesel coughed and started. One by one, my family got back in their cars and left the way they had come. The following week, I told the whole town what $40 million was for. I did it at the community center, with the bad heating, where my grandmother used to run the Christmas drive, and I did it plainly, because that was how Raymond and Joan had done everything. Scholarships for kids in a town that did not have many. Roof repairs and wheelchair ramps for the older folks who had given that town 60 years and could not climb a ladder anymore. And most of all, a program for veterans coming home, the ones who came back to a place that loved them but did not always know how to reach them, the way no one had quite known how to reach me. The lake house would be the heart of it. Not a museum, not a trophy. A place with an open door and a long table and a porch, where someone would always wait for the answer when you said, "How was your day?" The petition was dismissed 2 months later, in a hearing that took less than an hour. The no contest clause held exactly as my grandfather had designed it. The small bequests he had folded into his test passed instead into the foundation, which felt right, like the last piece of his plan clicking shut. My mother lost her house that fall. I had warned her and given her the name and the number, and she had used neither. I made my peace a long time ago with the fact that some people would rather drown holding their pride than swim toward a hand they have decided to hate. My father I have not spoken to since the porch, but Trevor surprised me. 3 weeks after the baby came, he sent a message, not a long one. Just, "I'm sorry." I looked at it for a while. I wrote back, "When you're ready to mean it, you know where the lake is." I have not heard from him again yet, but the door is open, the way my grandmother taught me a door should be, neither locked nor flung wide, just unlatched for whoever is willing to do the work of walking through it. The foundation is real now. The first veteran we placed in transitional housing finished his degree this spring. I still live in the lake house. I still wind the clock. And on summer evenings I sit out on the dock my grandmother wrote about, the one I fixed at 14 and never told anyone, and I listen to the water move against the pilings, slow and patient. For the first time in my life I do not feel like a house guest anywhere. They had not left me a fortune. They had left me a charge, and I had finally figured out what it meant. Family is not the people who share your blood or your name. Family is the people who would never once make you prove you belong. And the moment you understand that, you stop knocking on doors that were always going to stay shut, and you go build a house of your own with the door already open. That's my story. A plane that never landed, a truck that had to leave, and a letter folded inside an old Bible that told me exactly who I was when my own family had spent years telling me otherwise. If anyone has ever made you fight to be counted as their own, take this as your sign to stand quietly and firmly in your own worth. I'll see you in the next one.